do this with me standing. So the first one that we're going to do is just a simple thigh wrap. So if you have either a hip contusion, if you have a quad contusion or quad strain, hamstring contusion or a hamstring strain, this is how you wrap it, okay? Come on here a little bit. Okay. And actually, I'm going to have you over here.
You said hip contusion?
So no, not hip contusion. Hamstring strain or hamstring contusion, quad strain or quad contusion, okay?
Yeah, don't put me on YouTube now.
Oh, I'm doing it.
So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to have them.
Oh,
Again,
memory full.
This is the thigh wrap, or cross wrap, or X wrap. I think is what Cheryl will call it in class.
Thigh wrap, X wrap.
So you have them shoulder or legs shoulder width apart, feet shoulder width apart. Okay, and then you have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Okay, and what I would do is I'd take either a roll of tape or a can or something, and I'm gonna put it underneath this heel. Okay, so lift up your heel, and so that's where I'd put it. Okay, I don't have anything with me, but for the practical, we'll provide you guys with that.
What does that do? A can?
Okay, and so then I'm going to have him basically completely weight bear on this leg. So it puts him in a little bit of a knee flex position, causing the thigh to be about have the girth of the thigh about as wide as it's going to be. Okay?
Nope.
So spread your legs out a little more. There you go. Okay? So like a taping can.
Is that knee straight?
He'll have a little bit of flexion in it because he'll have the heel up.
Okay.
So we've got, and again, we want him down to shorts, or if they're wearing compression shorts, something of that nature, so we can get a good wrap. You wouldn't want to do it over sweatpants. Not a big deal. Okay, so whenever you're wrapping, you go from distal to proximal. Okay, and so I'm starting just above the knee. Okay, and I'm coming here and coming around. All right. So the one thing you want to do is, it's called a dog ear. So you want to just flip this first piece up, okay? Kind of up like that, and that helps secure it down a little more, okay? So I'm going to go over that and kind of hold it down. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just going to wrap around, pulling a little bit of the tension out of it to make it kind of tight, but you don't want to get it too tight, okay? Overlapping by half-ish, okay? And just coming all the way up, along the thigh. Okay? So we're just staying along the thigh. Then when I'm done, I would, in the training room setting, take some stretchy tape. So that stretchy tape we use for the very last tape job, and just wrap it around a little bit, so that gives a little bit of compression too. But that's all it is. Distal to proximal, just going around the thigh or the quad or the hamstring to give it some support. What does it do? Not a lot. But the compression feels good for that strain or that contusion, and so that's why people want it on. And it helps. Okay?
What is this one called?
That one's just the thigh wrap.
Oh,
So distal to proximal, and then you want to check capillary refill distally when you're done, or check pulses distally, make sure you didn't get it too tight. Okay? Everyone cool with that? With the thigh wrap. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do a hip spica wrap. Okay? Spica, anytime you hear the word spica, it means basically figure 8. So spica, we're going to be making a figure 8. Okay? So again, I'd have them in the same position. So feet shoulder width apart, 1 foot in front of the other. Something underneath the heel to put them in a little bit of a flex position. Weight bearing as much as you can on this leg. Okay? Start the same, starting distally. Okay? Coming through. Get that dog ear in there. Alright, so now I'm coming up.
This is the spica?
This is the hip spica, yep. Alright, so once I get to this point, so we're doing more of a hip wrap than we are a thigh wrap. Okay? So I want to cross along the hip, and I'm coming along the back. You want to make sure you don't get it too low, so you kind of want it above the butt. And then you're coming back down. So does everyone see how I made that figure 8 right there?
Mm-hmm.
So I made a ring around his leg and then a ring around his waist. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm coming and giving him more support over the hip. So this would go around about 2 to 3 times if I had the length I need. So you need a double ace wrap. Remember how we talked about single versus double the first day of class? And then there's the different widths. So I would need a double ace wrap so I can go around 2 to 3 times, going around giving that hip some support. Okay?
So you go around 2 or 3 times on the thigh or around the...
around the waist.
Oh, okay. So you
I already went around the thigh as much as I need to.
Okay, all right.
So here it's just around the waist, around the thigh, around the waist, around the thigh, around the waist, around the thigh.
Alright.
And then again, I would take some stretchy tape, some elastic tape, wrap it around, kind of follow the same pattern a couple times, give them some extra support. Okay?
And that.
So you can start a little higher. You don't have to start right above the knee like we did with the thigh wrap, just to give yourself a little extra room. Because the important thing is you're getting around the hip, since we're trying to help with the hip.
And that.
You want to wrap the thigh until it gets about right up to this.
Yeah, yeah. So you can cross. So you can cross right about where the trochanter is. Okay. You can kind of feel the trochanter on yourself. That's where you want to be crossing. I'm giving that some support.
So hip thigh, so wrap.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So-
What you do here is just how high you get.
Yeah. So you just want to start here to give yourself a good anchor.
Extension.
It what?
It prevents
Huh?
extension.
Okay.
So when I get up there, I'll do it one more time for everyone to see. So when I get up there,
You can do the dog ear.
Yeah.
I didn't do the doggy that time just because I'm trying to speed it up. I'm not even going to make it look nice. So around the hip, around the thigh, around the hip, around the thigh.
And that prevents extension.
So this one's a little low, but it's giving the hip a little extra support, okay? And then depending upon which way you pull. So if you guys saw, I was kind of pulling this way, okay? So I'm coming up and around, I'm pulling his leg. And so when he walks around, the tension in this is going to kind of help his hip come forward. So it's going to help his hip flexors, okay? Help bring that knee up, help flex that hip. And then obviously it's going to help eliminate or prevent a little bit of hip extension, okay? Since we're helping him into hip flexion, it's going to limit hip extension. Now I can go the other way. Okay, I can go the other way. So rather than going that way, I can go this way.
Pull it in.
Yep. And so now when I'm wrapping around, okay, so now I can kind of pull him back. Okay, so here I can kind of pull him back. Does everyone see that? So now this would help his leg go into hip extension, and it would resist him in hip flexion a little bit.
So what would?
So it all depends on which way you wrap it and what you're trying to limit.
Can you give an example of like each what you're trying to limit, like an injury?
I mean, if you have a hip flexor strain, you want to make it easy on those hip flexors. So you want to assist with them a little bit, so that the way that you'd wrap it is you'd wrap it so it could assist it a little bit. Okay.
And then what about what would be one for extension?
Soccer trying to get that extension. They need the hip flexion, but they need the hip flexion here. They don't need it as much way up here, like where a sprinter would, where they're really driving their knee. So they need to get the hip extension to really wind up, and then coming through.
So you would wrap it the other way.
So you
for
could wrap it the
extension.
other way.
Okay.
I mean, it all depends. And you may be trying to help with the hip flexion. So I may be trying to help with this, and they may not like that. So I could try it the other way, and they may like that better. So it just all
personal
depends.
opinion,
Yeah,
kind
it
of.
just all depends.
On the practical, how will it be?
It'll be just perform a hip spike or hip wrap. We just need you to talk through it. You know what you're doing, why you're doing it,
Okay.
that kind of thing. The last thing that I want to talk about is, so we've got thigh wrap, which was for the hamstring or quad strain. We've got hip spica, okay, and we've got hip pointer, okay. Hip pointer is exactly like hip spica, but a hip pointer is basically just a contusion, like a bony contusion on the outside. Someone fell on their hip, and so they just need some padding, okay? So you'd make a donut pad. This is a fancy donut pad. Wouldn't expect you guys to make this, but you could basically stack up a couple pieces of foam, and then you put a piece of foam over it to give a little protection. But basically this cup, you put it where they're painful, so where there's a contusion, and that area is really not going to get pressed, but the area around it will be. Does that make sense? Okay? So when I put it down, the area in the center is not getting pressed against, but the forces are being dispersed around it. And so if they have a hip pointer, a bruise in their hip, you put the pad where the bruise is, and then you perform a hip spica around it. And so there it's not necessarily as important which direction you're trying to pull, but it's just trying to keep this padding down. Okay? And so I've given you all padding so you can practice that as well. Just putting the padding there, doing a hip spica wrap around it. Again, they'd be knee flexed, or they'd be